There's a lot of talk around Hugh Freeze right now. It's a really uncomfortable kind of conversation because I remember back at SEC Media Days, you and I are perched up on the second floor of the College Football Hall of Fame. Hugh Freeze and Auburn come to Atlanta, and he was unlike any other coach that day in that week. He leaned into the expectations. He did what James Franklin did at Penn State, frankly. He leaned into the expectations. He said, to paraphrase him, people should expect us to be a playoff contender. We should be that. We should this, should that. So I appreciated it. It gave us a lot to talk about. But I remember you and I sitting there saying, it's great if it turns out that it's that way there this year. But if it goes sideways, I know him just like I know most coaches, and they're gonna kind of bristle at someone telling them they failed to meet expectations. And that's okay if you never go public with expectations. He went public with expectations. So he kind of put it out there, just like James Franklin in Penn State. This is the best team we've had. It's kind of national title or bust. He put it out there, and it busted. And so I don't know what your feel on this is, but my feel on Auburn is season's far from lost. Like, they could go on a run right now, and they could be right there in the playoff conversation. They could be right there in the SEC championship game conversation. There's just no margin for error. And I think it feels to me like a little, Jenga tower, where there are one or two more cubes that if I remove, it goes crash really quick. And I'm not even totally sure what that looks like, but I think it involves Hugh Freeze's job security. So I'm not sitting here to ask you, hey, man, is he going to lose his job or not? But you do radio in Birmingham every day. You played there. You're really close to the program. Do you think that characterization is fair, unfair? How do you see the situation down there right now?
I don't think we have this much noise if it's just people making it up and people saying things that they want to be true, trying to speak it into existence or hypothesizing about the future would be. Josh, just go look at the record. Number one overall, number two against SEC opponents. Then look at the scoring in the fourth quarter, the yardage and scoring in the second half of games, specifically yardage gains in the fourth quarter. And it continues to sort of slide downhill. And a lot of the reasoning and a lot of the issues and the problems are the same things that Auburn fans heard last year and the year before. And that's where I think people have sort of run into a little bit of a wall here with the hope and maybe the light at the end of the tunnel expectation is that, hold on, we've heard this. And it might be a different player. It could be a different position group, but it's beginning to sound the same. And that's why I think it's wearing thin, not only on a lot of Auburn fans, but some people that have some pull around the program. I struggle to see it truly getting turned around. You speak of being in some sort of an SEC championship race. I would speak more of being bowl eligible, which is interesting because what you said about SEC Media Days, looking back on it now, I wonder how much of that was in reaction to himself, what he said at the Regions Championship when he referenced, hey, we're trying to get to a bowl game. We're trying to get bowl eligible. Now, for folks like myself and Greg McElroy and other people that looked at it from our perspective, and like Greg made a great point on our show one day. God, I hate giving him so much credit when I come on your show. He did make a great point one day, and he said, and I remember Terry Bowden and Tommy Tuberville standing in front of us before the seasons, and they're like, hey, win the opener, win the division, go to Atlanta, try to play for a championship, be it SEC or national championship. And Greg told us a story about how when they would reach their sixth win every year, Saban made a huge deal about it in the locker room. Like, we're bowl eligible. It was one of our goals for the season. But this falls into the category of low-hanging fruit in which almost everything surrounding Hugh Freeze seems to be right now. Some of that is self-inflicted. I won't even try to pretend that it's not. Certain things that are said and ways that they're said and different ways that they're twisted and repeated, I think some of that is brought on himself. And it allows people to maybe take that avenue and take that path with him. But make no mistake, I'm not saying he's coaching for his job this weekend, but it's being evaluated now. People's antennas are up. People's eyes are open. The thought process has now entered the chat of what potentially would be next and when potentially would we make this move based on how games look and what the outcome of games is. And I think that's the tricky part, Josh, because you've heard me talk about the number thing for years now. Everybody will say before the season, does he have to win 8? Does he have to win 6? Does he have to win 10? I'll never put a number on it because I don't think the perception of what the season was or is is going to be brought upon or be able to be told by whatever that number is in the W column. Because you're telling me if he wins 7 and he had to win 8, he's gone, but he beat Alabama and Georgia. That's just not a real thing. So, and that goes for a Florida coach beating Florida State and Georgia, whatever that would be. You beat your rivals. Like if people said they wanted to get rid of Sark this year and he goes out and wins 1 game less than people thought, but he beats Texas by 20 or Texas A&M by 21 at the end of the year, he's not going anywhere. Like this is not a real thing. So I think essentially what we need to take away from the conversation is that people's eyes are now open to it. More attention is being paid to it. And there are probably some real conversations that are being had about it.
We'll get back to the video 1 second. Do me one quick favor. Look down. Make sure you're subscribed. Most of you are. If you're not, please do so. It's the way we keep the channel free, we keep the videos coming, and we get to do college football year-round as God intended. All right, as promised, back to the video. I think he's coaching for his job this weekend. I think that's where that stands. I always think it's stupid when you're going game to game, evaluating whether someone's good enough to be your head coach. I've always thought that logic is dumb. I think maybe with the Auburn situation, though.
Well, hold on, I hate to interrupt you, though. Do you know the Jeremy Foley quote? I've heard this 100 times, and I can't remember it perfectly. It's like, what must be done tomorrow must be done today, or what we think is going to be done tomorrow must be done today. Whatever it is, it's perfect for this scenario.
Yeah. How about another quote where, hey, how about another quote where if we're firing a guy in mid-October, should we have started the season with him? That's another loosely affiliated quote with what must be done eventually must be done immediately, which is what I've had thrown in my face from Penn State all week. My point there is what I told you either today or yesterday. I can't remember the last time I talked to you. Memorable conversation, though. I said, if they lose this weekend, here's what happens. Bradley, do me a favor. Take me full and throw the Auburn schedule up for just a second. If you lose this weekend and everyone behind the scenes decides, all right, it's time, we got to move on, but you don't, what you have is you got 4 games in a row. You could lose 3 of them, but I mean, Arkansas, Kentucky, Vandy is not a murderer's row, although 2 of those 3 are on the road. You leave yourself open to the possibility of him going on a little run there against programs you would view as inferior, whether it's fair or not in this given year. And so I actually think they arrive at that conclusion. If we think we're going to do it eventually, we're going to do it immediately. If we're looking around and maybe Florida moves on Billy and Penn State's already moved on James Franklin, I expect a few more of them to come open, and you know you've got what you think are studs sitting at places like South Florida or places like Tulane. You know if you don't get them now, someone else is going to get them. And so I think Penn State really kicked the anthill. And I think Indiana locking up Kurt Cignetti really fired up a lot of people today too. We'll talk about that in a second. But you didn't say it. I'm saying it. Let me be clear about that. I think it's either over or the beginning of the quick end for Hugh if he doesn't win this weekend, which I don't always agree with logic-wise, but I would understand it in this case.
Sure. Let's state it this way. How many teams left on that schedule, including this weekend, from top to bottom are more talented than this Auburn roster? There you go. So that would be one way to equate it and look at it now. Is Missouri a better football team? Absolutely. Is Vanderbilt a better football team? Absolutely. We know Alabama is right now. I haven't seen the tape on Mercer this year yet, so I'll get back to you on that one. But Arkansas, I think, would probably be a coin toss. Honestly, if you're talking about who is the better football team with just how Arkansas has played in certain games this year, I don't know if I would bet my savings account on either one of those teams by saying I believe they'd go out and beat the other in a game if they were facing a neutral site. So Kentucky, I could probably sell you on Auburn being a better football team right now. But yeah, if you go get this one, you're looking at potentially being able to put together a heck of a run. And then what problems have you solved? What ground have you gained at the end of the season? And we start this whole thing over again next year. I can see where people would be in that camp as how they viewed the position.
That's why I appreciate the way A&M, the way they handled Jimbo. Like, go beat Mississippi State convincingly and then great win. Hey, you're fired anyway. That's how they did it. Very
but
interesting.
there are a few things here that we need to take into consideration. You and I have talked a lot about the new world order, so to speak, where we are in college football. Your roster is a real conversation that needs to be had, and people will reference this as trapping kids on the roster or making sure guys can't leave, and they can look at it as some sort of a backdoor move to keep guys from hitting the portal. But that thing opens up for 30 days. Or do you want to go around and have some conversations with some agents? Do you want to have some conversations with some individuals? And obviously not the coaching staff. I don't know what takes. None of us know how this really operates when it comes to when you get rid of a coach, how you get rid of a coach, what actually takes place. And then the other part of that, of course, as always, this is not individual to this situation. It's going to be Jimmy Sexton.
Yeah.
What does he want? Who does he want? How does he want him to go out? Like, all of those things are real. Now, we'll never know exactly how it works or what's going to take place or what took place, but it's a real factor in this, just like it is 100 other coaching hires and fires that are going to take place for the next 5 years.
Yeah, I think the college football public, just general fans, would be shocked at how thoroughly powerful people can make stupid ideas possible. And so that's what you always have to be careful of when you're making coaching moves as well.